Hey, hi, and welcome back to the Southern Millennial Mom podcast. I am Samantha May, and I'm your official Southern Millennial Mom. First off, as always, I want to thank all of my returning listeners. You are making this podcast worth the time it takes to make it. And to all the ones that have given me, the information that I'm asking for to help improve this podcast, thank you. Thank you. If you are a new listener, this is your first episode you're ever hearing from this podcast. Welcome. I'm so glad you decided to give this podcast a chance because it was a little rough in the beginning, apparently. But I really do recommend that you go back to that first episode, let me introduce me, because it's exactly what the title says it is, and it tells you who I am, where I stand in life, what I believe in, and all the important facts about myself. As a fun, I wouldn't say fun, I find it exciting, but as a recap of the last full episode and not the bonus content, which, I had always thought about doing bonus content, but I didn't know what kind of content it would be. I figured out what kind of bonus content it would be after the last full episode. But as a quick recap from the last episode, I made some really big decisions about the podcast and about the schedule for this podcast. I was doing weekly episode drops, and now they've become bi-weekly episode drops because it was really messing with a lot of the things that I was responsible for here at home because I'm a stay-at-home mom, and it was taking time out of doing those tasks to record, to edit, to make sure everything went to its proper place. It was a really hard decision for me because I knew I couldn't do daily episode drops because I would run out of topics that I wanted to talk about very quickly. And I thought that I would be over anxious if it came to bi-weekly episode drops. I thought, 1 week between each episode drop, perfect amount of time. It was not, because while I do enjoy talking, I enjoy conversing with somebody else. I'm actually going to get to do that with my amazing mother-in-law. And that episode will drop 2 weeks from the 15th of November. I'm really excited about that, and I can't wait for her to come and talk about the things I want her to discuss. And I just realized after several recommendations from my husband, him saying, don't you think you would be a bit less stressed if you did bi-weekly? I was like, no, because then I'll get super anxious and I'll waste all my time until the last minute to drop this episode or the next episode and whatnot. And then I realized that's an excuse to not do the things in my home that I'm supposed to be doing. It's me making an excuse not to clean my house, not to do the laundry or anything else. Yes, I could have help. They could help me, but it is not their job to take up my slack unless, I am sick or I am running on a deadline and haven't been able to record or edit or any of the important things for this podcast. There were times I would be recording and I would forget to eat lunch. I would forget to pay attention to the time, and then all of a sudden my alarm telling me it was time to go pick up my daughter from school would go off, and I would get so mad because I would be in this flow of recording or editing and just getting it all done, and then I get interrupted by this alarm, and I was like, oh crap, I need to go pick up my daughter, and that's why the alarm is going off. And I think that is a great segue into this episode, what I want to talk about in this episode. And I really don't know if I'm talking about etiquette or safety or consideration for this, I'll probably figure out at the end of the episode. But I'm going to talk about the carpool. I know that carpool is run differently probably at each school. Boo, before the elementary school she quote-unquote graduated from, she went to a different one from kindergarten to 3rd grade. And while the rules for carpool are generally the same, don't cut in front of the line, don't be a douchebag, basically. But some of the rules I made up for myself for carpool, I think other people might benefit. I know it is almost the end of the first semester of school for a lot of people. This is just something that I notice like every day, and I wish I could talk about it more, like talk about it on my other social media, but typing all the thoughts out is a lot of work, and just speaking about it gets those thoughts out of my head. So we're going to jump right into it. First thing about carpool, figure out your timing. Know when you should get there and when you should leave, if that makes sense. When you should leave your home, your job, because depending on how big the school is, how many students are there, how long the line will be, if it is a new school, you're the first time you're picking up or dropping off your kid at school, it is a dynamic that a lot of people have been going through for several years, and they know the system. And when that new person comes into the line and messes it all up, people get upset. And sometimes people, when they take their kid to school, they'll have a friend who takes their kid to school, and they might be a carpool parent. Ask them how it goes. Like, what's the best time to go for drop-off? What's the best time to go for pickup? Like, how long does it typically take for the drive-through line? Well, it's basically the same thing. What's the typical amount of time it takes to drop off and pick up a child? Yes, there are a whole lot of different situations, especially if there are special need kids that go to after school care in large groups. Those have different standards in the line, different places in the line. The elementary school that my daughter went to previously, there is an after school care bus that has approval from the school to cut in front of a carpool line, because they are picking up the largest amount of children, especially very young children that have a tendency to see stuff and just go running. And it is safest for them, for their after school care bus, to pick them up. But anyways, I did the first time when I saw it happen, but after that I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. That way there are not little kids standing there and getting distracted and running off because they see something that catches their attention and possibly getting hit by a car, because some parents or whoever is picking up a child wants to get out of the carpool line after they've picked up the child that they're there to pick up, and they don't pay attention. And I will never be angry that a child with special needs, either physical or mental special needs, their parent or their caregiver, whoever comes and gets them, will get to cut in front of the line. People I do get upset with are the ones that are too impatient to wait for the end of the line to come to them, or they just don't know the rules. Like if they're extremely brand new and they haven't learned the system. But I can understand, the first time that happening, they made a mistake, don't do it again. But if I consistently see that particular vehicle doing that, just completely cutting somebody off in the line or cutting in the very front of the line because they were just too impatient to wait for the end of the line to reach them. You can tell those kind of people. Anyways, I will get upset with that. And people that just think that they can pull into the line, whether it's like cutting in front of the very first person or just sneaking their way because one person is taking just a little bit longer to press the accelerator. Those kind of people really tick me off. Carpool, just like a drive-through, is a lesson in patience. Some orders take a little bit longer because it might be a large order. There might be a new cook. There might be a new cashier learning the system. Well, I've not been a cook, but I have been part of, that industry. And when you're learning something new, it takes a minute to learn it. And sometimes kids, they don't want to get out of a vehicle for drop-off. They're having a bad morning, or, they're so distracted talking to their friends that they're not paying attention to a teacher calling their name, saying, hey, your vehicle's here, hey, it happens. Really kind of does upset me, and I've been upset with myself for this happening. People being on their phone while in carpool, like really close to the time it is to pick up your kid or when the line is supposed to start moving. I have been guilty of this a few times in the very past. I've been pretty good recently because I have finally learned from my mistakes. But if you just have to be on your phone, like you get there really super early or whatnot, and you're in the first 10 cars to get there, if you just have to be on your phone or computer, if you bring your computer to work on waiting for the carpool line to start, or you're reading a book, do not have it below the dashboard. If it is there, your focus is downward. That's really why the law came in, don't text and drive. Or sometimes people will talk on speakerphone and they'll have the phone way down below the dashboard and they're not paying attention to what's going on in front of them, and accidents happen because they weren't paying attention. And I get on to my husband about him texting or watching TikToks in the vehicle if we're in the drive-through line. Sometimes the drive-through line takes a bit to move forward because they're super busy at the drive-through on the inside of places. And my husband keeps his phone down low below the line of the dash. And it drives me absolutely nuts. If I get the feeling the line is going to take a while and I want to be on my phone, I will rest my phone on the top of my steering wheel, or I will try to have it up high enough where I can see the car in front of me if it moves forward, so I'm not being the douchebag that holds up the line because I'm not paying attention. And I get to my daughter's school about, we'll say, 30 minutes before the actual let-out time for the school. So I got 30 minutes to play games, listen to an audiobook, work on my podcast and what I want to talk about, research, and all that kind of stuff. I got the time. If I have to be on my phone, or in some cases my laptop, I will put it up high where I can see it, where I can see the car in front of me. And if, somebody is not paying attention, or, well, it's usually the case, they're not paying attention. In some cases, they might have fallen asleep if they got there, really early. I've done that once, more than once, a few times at my daughter's old school. At the first school she went to, I fell asleep. I got there so early that I'm like, oh, it's nap time, sucker. But I do set a timer for maybe a 15-minute nap. Do I actually fall asleep? I don't remember, but they may just be in a really comfortable position. They got the right amount of sunlight on them. They got the right temperature air blowing on them, and sometimes you just can't help yourself, especially if you've had a long day And that's just, you're just in the zone. I'm just going to close my eyes, rest my eyes, and then all of a sudden you're asleep. But, if you notice that somebody is not moving, don't be a douche canoe and wail on your horn. Do that little polite tap, the polite, hey, the car in front of you is moving, or hey, you better look out. But, be polite about it. Don't be a jerk and wail on your horn, please. Have some class, people. I understand there are a lot of parents that come directly from work and they want to get out of whatever clothes that they were wearing. At least I know the moms do. They want to get out whatever clothes they had to go to work in. After picking up their kids, they want to shower. They want to take off their bra. Guys, they want to get out of those dirty clothes, take a shower, things like that. They want to go home, relax for 30 minutes before the chaos of the family starts. I understand that, but you don't need to be rude. Other people are doing their best too. Some people are tired as well. They've been, if they're a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, or they've been out looking for work if they're out of work. There's a whole bunch of situations. Drive-thrus and carpool lines are great teachers of patience. And, there's people getting distracted and falling asleep sometimes. And then there are the people, their car just broke down and they're not intentionally, or it's different than somebody not paying attention. And they can't help it that their car broke down. There were several instances my car broke down. I got a flat tire and, I had to pull out of the line and carpool to get my vehicle out of the way of other people because I was being considerate. And, I've seen several times, the battery just died on somebody's car and they need help to jump it. And accidents happen in that aspect. They can't control when their vehicle, they can control when their vehicle breaks down, but sometimes it just happens out of the blue. It's something you should teach your kids, and I made a TikTok about this. Teach your kids what the front of your vehicle looks like. Have something that will distinguish your vehicle from the third car back that looks the exact same from the front. I have, for the longest time, I would have something on my dashboard. I currently have a Pokemon plush on my dashboard in the very bottom corner next to my phone holder. And my daughter knows that is my car. At one point I think it was either Sonic or McDonald's, a little golden minion Buddha thing. I had that Velcroed, stuck to my dashboard, and while it was small, she realized, hey, that's my mommy's car. I know a lot of moms will have sticker decals on the back that's really kind of what your kid sees, especially if you're going out in public. The kids will see the back of the car. Also, one helpful tip: teach your kids your tag number, so that the back of my vehicle is blank. I don't have the dealership little logo thing peeled off a few months ago, so my daughter doesn't know. There's no distinguishing things on the back of my vehicle yet. I have a Cricut machine, and one day I will use it to make a cute little decal. I need to teach her what the tag number of my vehicle is, of my husband's vehicle is, so that she's like, oh, this is their tag number. Anyhow, that's also a safety thing. Another etiquette / safety thing: do do not, turn it up for the people in the back, do not ride somebody's bumper while you are in the carpool line. That is not going to make them move forward. That is just going to, piss them off and possibly make them petty. And when the car in front of them moves, they will move as slowly as possible, creating a bigger distance between them and the person in front of them. I am that person. I am that petty person. There were several somebodies in the last carpool line I was in. They constantly, whenever they were behind me, I knew exactly who they were. I didn't know the person. I knew their vehicle. I knew their face. But they would constantly ride my bumper, thinking it's going to make me move forward. It's not. I am that petty Betty that will make sure the distance between myself and the person in front of me grows a good distance before either I start to go forward or I am slowly, like I am snail's pace, riding my brake between myself and the person in front of me to create that bigger distance. I guess that person wasn't behind me enough to recognize my vehicle like I recognize theirs, but, I recognize theirs, and, I'm always up for seeing if people have learned the lesson the first time. This person did not. So I either didn't move and created a large distance, or I snailed it. You can be petty, but not a complete jerk. It drives me nuts when people think, I'm just going to ride their bumper and maybe they'll move forward. It doesn't work for me. It just ticks me off and I will create a distance. When I put at most, half a car's distance, half a vehicle's distance between myself and the person in front of me. At the very least, the distance from bumper to the beginning of the trunk. There is a distance. A very large person could walk without having to turn their body to move in between my vehicle and the one in front of me, because you do not know if somehow, some way, there is going to be a car that is rear-ended causing a chain reaction. I would rather be the end of the chain reaction than possibly having the person in front of me, whether it's just an adult, whether it is someone elderly, whether there is an adult and a baby, or a too young child to be at school. I would rather, my vehicle get messed up and it be the end of a bumper-to-bumper accident because one person was not paying attention. They were looking down at their phone. They were glancing off to the side because, something caught their attention out the window. I would rather end the accident chain. So just think of that. Because also, again, you're in a carpool line, and if somebody is not paying attention and they rear end somebody who rear ends somebody else, that chain reaction may reach where kids are trying to load into vehicles, because sometimes kids will go around the back of a vehicle to get in on a different side. Put space between yourself and the person in front of you, a good distance, because I do not want to have to hear that somebody wasn't paying attention or they were too impatient and there was a chain reaction, rear and bumper to bumper accident. Don't be the cause. be the final product if it happens, be the final link of that chain reaction. And when it comes to the safety, specifically for our children, especially if you have somebody that has malcontent for you, for your child, not because, they know you personally or just because, they're bad people. There are people in the world. You don't hear a lot about it in the South, a whole lot, which is kind of sad. I would say you really only hear about it if there's mass things or there's a specific group of people that this happened to. I have this legitimate fear that someone that we have recently, in the past few years, cut out of our lives will go up to my daughter's school and try to take her. Not to hurt her or anything that I am aware of, but to hurt me emotionally, mentally, maybe physically, I don't know. That they will call up to the school or go up to the school and say, "Hey, I'm Samantha May's familiar relation. She lost her phone. She couldn't get in contact with you. I'm here to pick Boo up, to check Boo out from school." And they'll be like, "Oh, you're Samantha's relation. That's a relation, Why would we not trust this particular relation?" And I have this fear that this person will do that, or they will send their spouse to do that. And that terrifies me. I don't think I have posted where my daughter's going to school now. Some people, it's a logical step. Told them, where Boo was going to school. And I just don't want this person to have this information. And I really didn't want them to have it while she was at the elementary school. She's at the middle school now. People, have a tendency to think this familial relation, what harm could they possibly do? This person is not on my approved pickup, call, emergency number, anything. They should have no access to my daughter. And because of the seemingly good relationship that my daughter and this person had, she would trust them without a doubt. She would believe whatever lie that they tell her. We did have the conversation of, it started off her asking why we haven't gone to go see this person. And while we didn't visit them often, it'd be like a few weeks between visitations. That makes it sound like, medical reasons, but no, that's what it was. It was visiting or whatever. And she's like, "Well, why don't we see that so-and-so anymore?" And that was the point. I knew, okay, we have to tell her, because we were in the car one day. It was my husband, myself, and Boo. And I told her that we no longer talk to this person because they were unhealthy for our family. She asked why, and I kind of dumbed it down, like this behavior, and a whole bunch of other things. And she's like, "Okay, I think I understand." And that's a hard thing for somebody who absolutely loves everybody, unless she is given an absolute reason not to. She has such a big heart, and some days I'm afraid, not just for her safety, but for her mental health. It almost breaks her when people are mean to her. They make fun of her. They don't bring her into whatever group they're in. And while I don't want her to lose that openness, that love for people, I want her to understand, not everybody is just like her. As I was talking about the elementary school she just came up from, the decal for that one is a very distinct shape. it has a bunch of the school information on it. The name, I don't have one. Like, I've lost all of them or I've thrown them away. But I'm pretty sure it has the school name, phone number, when school starts and ends, when drop-off starts and ends, when pickup starts and ends. I don't think it had the bus information, but it had a lot of information that was concerning for me. Yes, I could have just, covered that with like a permanent marker or something, but I have a tendency to lose very either small things or very thin things. And, it was about as thin as a sheet of paper. I had it, then I'd find it, I'd have it, then I'd lose it. It was a big thing for me, but I would have, like, my daughter's name and what grade she was in on, like, the back of a junk mail envelope or an old envelope for a bank statement. Because I knew I would lose this thing because it was so thin. It could slip under the floor mats, under the seats, and so many other just weird places. Kind of like your favorite pen, one of your favorite pens that you keep in your vehicle, and you try so hard to keep it in one place, but somebody else uses it, and it's gone. It's still in the vehicle, but it's gone. Anyhow, I would lose the thing. So obviously, if I lost it, it's not somewhere in sight. And I see a lot of parents that are going to this elementary school to drop off, pick up, or whoever is doing the carpooling. They are leaving this decal hanging on their rearview mirror, facing forward with their child's name, with their child's grade. It has all this school information. And somebody with ill content could get that information, make these specific claims, and get their child. And it drives me absolutely nuts. And I think I am a little bit passionate about this because I came across this video of this guy. I don't know if he was a private investigator, police officer, retired police officer, somebody, but he was describing how people can identify facts in your life that you don't think about when you put bumper stickers, these decals, onto your vehicle. Yes, there are these super cute little family decals that moms will put up in their back windshield or on their back glass or the sides or whatever. It has your family on it, the sports your kids are involved in, your pets. And he was like, these kind of things tell you that your family is involved with this sport. There are this many people. You have this many dogs. So they can, they could follow you home and learn your schedule because of this information. And another example was proud parent of an honor student at this school. Okay, they know your kid is smart, so they probably stay after school to study, to tutor, to do all of this stuff. They learn all these kind of personal details of your family, and they could use it against you, against your kids. And I think when I saw for the first time this decal at Boo's elementary school she just came up from, I saw all this information on it, and I remembered that video, and I was like, I think I may have intentionally not taken care of this decal. True, I would pull this thing down whenever I did have it or I did find it. I would pull it down, put it in my center console, and be done with it. But I think my brain was like, you need to lose this so that you have to go to like an envelope, a random piece of paper where you can write Boo's name, big enough, and whatever grade she's in. Luckily, there was a teacher that would come down and write down the names of the kids in the order that they needed to be put in line for the drop-off. And The only issue I really kind of had with this carpool line was there were two little roads. It would create two lines of cars. Yes, it was efficient. There were a lot of kids that went to this elementary school, so that meant a lot of vehicles in this carpool line. So this teacher would write down the names and the grades, what cars would intermingle, would, stagger with each other, and it was a good system, I guess. Nabu's previous elementary school, was a bit smaller. It was like half the number of students at the new elementary school. And the way that they did it, they gave you a laminated, obnoxious colored piece of paper with either just the kid's last name and the number that they were assigned at the beginning of the year. At least that's what I'm assuming. That way, if you're picking up like multiple kids, you're going to have, just one single last name and two numbers. And I think the only thing that made it distinctive was the emblem of the school mascot. But that was it. The district that school was in, there were a whole bunch of schools in that district that used that same mascot. And, that one, it was just the laminated thing. Like, they didn't do like a hook on it for you. You had to either get a hanger with a chip clip or one of those pant hangers with the clips already on them. I usually just had, I would always have like one lying around because I would buy something that would have those clips on them already. And I've kind of ventured off to how unsafe this hanging decal is. And I know some people will probably think, I'll just turn it around and nobody can see. Nobody can see this information. You are wrong. The only way you could actually make that safe is if you turned it around and laid it flat on the dashboard. Wow, my hillbilly came out. If you turned it around and laid it face down on the dashboard. Because unless you have two things, super dark tinted windows, driver passenger side windows, or you have those sun shields that will fit in the windows. I have some of those and I love them. You should get them too because they're great. But unless you have those along with the windshield sun shield, someone can just look in your car and get that information. And again, if they have malcontent or you and your family, that's a big problem. If you're like, it's just too much work to pull it off and put it back on, it's a little work. It's like 5 seconds or 10 seconds at the most from getting it. You could shove it between your seats, the front seats. You could shove it between the front seats and the center console. You can put it in the center console. Have that information hidden. Mark it out. Something. Because I see these parents that, I know the shape of this hanging decal. So I know what school they go to. And they have all that information facing out. So anyone can see it. And we have been lucky enough that nothing has happened. But if a parent from this school is listening, please either take down this decal or mark out that information and turn it around. So just the kid's name and the grade is on there. Mark off the school information with a permanent marker. Instead of writing your kid's name in permanent marker or whatever you use a dry erase marker. That way you can wipe out your kids' names and grades, and it just looks like cute little decal hanging on your rearview mirror. And sometimes it's not even just the kids we should worry about. There might be somebody that is a danger to the school itself, to a particular administrator, janitorial staff member, the safety officer, or even a teacher but all it takes is one glimpse of the school information. So it is not just for the safety of the kids, it is the safety of all the adults in that building as well. Either do those 3 things, well, 4 things. Take it down, hide it somewhere where you easily grab it and put it back on there. Takes 10 seconds at the most to do that. Mark off the school information and just leave your kid's name and grade, or mark off the school information with permanent marker, and just every time you go to pick up your kid, you don't even have to have the name and information on when you drop off the kid. You're dropping him off. But they need the kid's name and the grade to pick them up. All you have to do is write it down once every day. And you can even make it a game for any of the kids that are riding with you to write down so-and-so's name and whatever grade they're in. If you have multiple kids, figure that out too. Or you could have your kid write it down before they get out of the car so that they can practice writing their name, or so that they can improve their handwriting, so that the teacher that's writing down the names and grades can read it. It's a great learning experience for the kids too. And I think that's just the stopping point, because I could go on and on and on about how to be proper in the line, how to keep our kids safe. But you can think on that and think of anything that might improve your carpool experience or somebody else's carpool experience. I do apologize that it just seemed coming like a rant, but I have made a couple TikToks about this kind of thing, about taking down the decal, of marking out the information, and proper polite etiquette in the carpool. So I am kind of passionate about this because it's important. I want my kid to be safe. I want other kids to be safe, and the people that are teaching them daily to be safe. Because there may come a time that you're not going to be there to protect them, but that teacher, that security worker, that janitorial staff member, the administration member is going to do that for them. So take care of the people that work at the school, the kids that go to the school, and the parents that pick up the kids from the school. If you have any comments, questions, recommendations, or advice yourself, please send those to southernmilennialmoms@gmail.com. Keep it clean, keep it kind, but keep it real. Okay, love y'all. Bye.